He installed cameras in every room, motion sensors on every door, background checks on everyone who entered his house. Marcus Chen had lost everything that mattered, and he wasn't going to lose what was left. The security company called it excessive. Marcus called it necessary, because in 18 months, 9 nannies had walked through his door. 9 trained professionals with pristine resumes and glowing references. And every single one of them had proven why trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. Marcus Chen was 42 years old, self-made billionaire, built a tech empire from his garage, the kind of story magazines love to write about. The American dream. They called him. They didn't know about the nightmare he was living. 2 years ago, he had everything. A wife who made him laugh. Twin sons who filled his massive house with chaos and joy. A life that felt complete. Then one rainy October evening, a drunk driver ran a red light. His wife died on impact. His 6-year-old twin sons, Ethan and Evan, survived. Barely. Both paralyzed from the waist down. Doctors said permanent. Said the spinal damage was too severe. Said they'd never walk again. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was the silence. 2 boys who used to run through the house, screaming and laughing, who used to fight over toys and race each other to the car, who used to be so alive, now sat in their wheelchairs staring at nothing. Not speaking, not responding, just existing in a world Marcus couldn't reach. The grief counselors said it was trauma. The psychiatrists said it was their way of processing loss. Everyone had theories. Nobody had answers. Marcus tried everything. Spent millions on the best specialists, the best therapists, the best equipment. Hired 9 different caregivers, each one more qualified than the last. The first one lasted 3 weeks before he caught her on camera going through his wife's jewelry box. The second made it 2 months, until his accountant noticed money missing from petty cash. The third sold photos of the boys to a tabloid. Marcus saw his sons' faces on a magazine cover at the grocery store. Tragic twins, tech billionaires, broken family. He fired her that day. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The 4th nanny seemed perfect. Harvard degree in child psychology. 15 years of experience. Impeccable references. She made it 6 weeks before Marcus discovered she'd been sharing confidential medical information with a documentary filmmaker, trying to sell the boys' story for a 6-figure deal. After that, Marcus stopped believing in background checks, stopped believing in references, stopped believing people could be trusted just because they had the right credentials. The 5th through 9th nannies all failed in different ways. One couldn't handle the boys' silence. Quit after a week saying it was too depressing. Another tried experimental therapies without permission. Nearly injured Evan. One got caught taking prescription medications from Marcus's medicine cabinet. Another simply stopped showing up one day. No call. No explanation. Just gone. The last one, number 9, made it almost 4 months. The longest anyone had stayed. Marcus had started to hope, started to believe maybe this one would work out. Then he reviewed the security footage. Saw her sitting in the living room while the boys were in the next room. On her phone. Scrolling. Laughing at videos. Completely ignoring Ethan when he made a small sound. The first sound he'd made in weeks. She didn't even look up. Marcus fired her the next morning. That was 3 weeks ago. Now the house felt like a mausoleum. His sons in their wheelchairs by the large window overlooking the garden. The same spot. Every day. Watching other children play in the park across the street. Children who could run. Marcus would stand in the doorway sometimes. Just watching them watch. Wanted to go to them. Wanted to hold them. Wanted to tell them everything would be okay. But he couldn't. Because it wouldn't be okay. Their mother was dead. They'd never walk again. And every person Marcus hired to help them eventually prove they were only there for money or opportunity or something other than actually caring about 2 broken little boys. The house had 16 rooms, a pool, a tennis court, a home theater, every luxury money could buy. But it was empty, cold, like a museum of a life that used to exist. Marcus's assistant, Mrs. Lin, had worked for him for 12 years. She'd been there before the twins were born, had watched them grow, had held Marcus together after the accident when he couldn't function. She was the only person he trusted anymore. "Mr. Chen," she said one morning, standing in his office doorway. "The agency called. They have one more candidate." Marcus didn't look up from his computer. "No, sir, you need help with the boys." I said no. His voice was flat. "I'm done with agencies. Done with professionals. Done with people who see my sons as a paycheck or a story to sell. This one is different. They're all different until they're not." Mrs. Lin walked into the office, set a single sheet of paper on his desk. Marcus glanced at it. A resume. Simple. One page. Elena Santos. Age 32. High school education. No college degree. No certifications in childcare. No experience with special needs children. Employment history. Housekeeper. Maid. Cleaning services. Marcus looked up. "You're joking." "She's been cleaning the church where I worship for 7 years," Mrs. Lin said quietly. "She heard about your situation. About the boys. She asked if she could help. She's a maid. She's a person who cares. I need someone qualified." "You've tried qualified 9 times, sir. Maybe try someone with a heart instead of a resume." Marcus stared at the paper, then at Mrs. Lin. She'd never steered him wrong before. Never pushed unless it mattered. 3 days, he said finally. "That's all I'm offering. If she can't handle them, she's gone." Mrs. Lin nodded. "I'll call her." That evening, Marcus stood in his home office staring at a wall of monitors. 12 screens, each one showing a different room in the house. Living room, kitchen, both boys' bedrooms, the playroom, the hallways, every entrance and exit. Some people might call it paranoid. Marcus called it learning from experience. After the third nanny's betrayal, the one who sold photos to the tabloid, he'd installed the system. State of the art. Motion activated. 24-hour recording. Everything backed up to encrypted cloud storage. He caught the jewelry thief on camera. The medication stealer. The one who ignored Ethan's first sound in weeks. The cameras didn't lie. Didn't have hidden agendas. Didn't pretend to care while plotting something else. Marcus had started watching the footage every night. A ritual. He'd review the day's recordings. Watch how the current caregiver interacted with his sons. Look for warning signs. Red flags. Anything that suggested this person was like the others. It was exhausting, but necessary, because the world had taught him a brutal lesson. People will betray you, even when you're paying them, even when you're vulnerable, even when they're supposed to be helping your traumatized children. Trust had to be earned. And so far, no one had earned it. Marcus pulled up today's footage. The boys had been in the living room most of the day. Same as always. Ethan in his wheelchair by the left window, Evan by the right, both staring outside. Mrs. Lin had brought them lunch. They'd eaten mechanically. No joy, no interest, just fuel. Afterward, she tried to engage them. Show them a picture book. Ask questions. Nothing. The boys had gone silent 6 weeks after the accident. After the initial hospital stay, after the funerals, after the reality set in that their mother wasn't coming back and their legs didn't work anymore. At first, they cried, screamed, raged against the wheelchairs and the pain and the unfairness of it all. Then one day, they just stopped. Stopped crying. Stopped fighting. Stopped speaking. The therapist said it was selective mutism brought on by trauma. Said with time and the right intervention, they might speak again. That was 18 months ago. Marcus had stopped believing the therapists. He switched to another camera feed. The boys' shared bedroom. 2 beds. 2 wheelchairs parked beside them. Walls covered with photos from before. The twins at the beach at Disneyland playing soccer, hugging their mother. Marcus had wanted to take the photos down. Thought maybe they were too painful. Constant reminders of what was lost. But Mrs. Lin had stopped him. They need to remember joy existed, she'd said, even if it hurts. So the photos stayed. Marcus closed the laptop. Tomorrow, another stranger would walk through his door. Another person who'd look at his sons and see, what? A challenge? An opportunity? A paycheck? He didn't know. Didn't expect much. Just hoped she'd last more than a week. 3 days. That's all he'd give her. Then he'd go back to doing this alone, the way he should have from the beginning. Elena Santos stood outside the Chen mansion at exactly 8 in the morning. She'd taken 2 buses to get here. Left her apartment at 6:30. Stopped at the church on the way to pray. Her hands were shaking. Not for nerves. From something else. something she couldn't quite name. A knowing, like God had been preparing her for this moment her whole life, and she was finally here. The mansion was enormous. 3 stories. Modern architecture. All glass and steel in angles. Beautiful. Cold. Elena had cleaned houses like this before. Knew how they looked perfect on the outside while being empty on the inside. She pressed the intercom button. Yes. A woman's voice. Elena Santos. I'm here about the position. A pause. Then the gate clicked open. Elena walked up the long driveway, carrying one bag, a small duffel with a change of clothes, and her Bible. That's all she needed. The front door opened before she reached it. An older Chinese woman stood there. Kind eyes. Tired smile. Elena? I'm Mrs. Lin. We spoke on the phone. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for this opportunity. Mrs. Lin's expression softened. Before you come in, I need to tell you something. Elena nodded. Mr. Chen is broken. His sons are broken. This house is broken. 9 people have tried to help. All of them failed. Some of them hurt this family worse than they already were. I understand. Do you? Mrs. Lin's voice was gentle but firm. Because it's not just about caring for 2 disabled children. It's about earning trust from a man who doesn't believe trust exists anymore. It's about reaching 2 boys who've decided the world isn't safe enough to participate in. Elena met her eyes. I lost my younger brother when I was 19. Leukemia. I watched him die over 2 years. Watched my parents break. Watched our family fall apart because grief is heavy and sometimes love isn't enough to hold people together. Mrs. Lin's expression shifted. I learned something in that darkness, Elena continued quietly. That broken people don't need someone to fix them. They need someone to sit in the broken places with them. To not be afraid of the pain. To just stay. Mrs. Lin was quiet for a long moment. Then she stepped aside. Come in. The house was beautiful. And empty. That's the first thing Elena noticed. Not empty of furniture or possessions. Empty of life. Empty of warmth. Like everyone was holding their breath. Mrs. Lin led her through the foyer. Past a living room that looked untouched. Past a dining room with a table set for people who didn't eat together anymore. Mr. Chen is in his office, Mrs. Lin said. The boys are in the sunroom. I'll introduce you to them first. They walked down a long hallway. Floor-to-ceiling windows on one side. Art on the walls that probably cost more than Elena made in a year. Mrs. Lin stopped at a doorway. Looked at Elena. Remember, they don't speak. Don't respond. Don't make eye contact most of the time. Don't be discouraged. It's not you. It's their protection. Elena nodded. They stepped into the sunroom. And there they were. 2 boys. 6 years old. Identical twins. Asian features. Dark hair. Small for their age. Both in wheelchairs. Ethan sat by the left window. Evan by the right. About 6 feet apart. Both staring outside at a park across the street where children were playing. Elena's heart cracked open. Not because they were in wheelchairs. Not because they were disabled. But because she could see it, the longing. The way they watched those other children. The way their small hands gripped the armrests of their chairs. They wanted to be out there. Running. Playing. Being 6 years old. But they were trapped. In their bodies. In their grief. In a silence they'd built to protect themselves. Mrs. Lin started to speak. To introduce Elena. To explain the arrangement. But Elena walked past her. Walked quietly into the room. Not rushing. Not announcing herself. Just moving with gentle purpose. She knelt down on the floor. Right in the middle. Between both boys' wheelchairs. Close enough to be present. Not so close she crowded them. Then she did something Mrs. Lin had never seen any of the previous caregivers do. She started humming. Then again. Marcus frowned. The cameras only sent multiple alerts if there was significant movement. But the boys didn't move significantly. They never had. Excuse me one moment, he said to the investors. Muted his microphone. Pulled up the camera feed on his laptop. The screen loaded. And Marcus's world stopped. The wheelchairs were empty. Both of them. Empty. His heart began pounding. Were his sons? Had something happened? Had Elena? Then he saw them. Ethan and Evan were standing. Standing. Each boy holding one of Elena's hands. Their legs shaking violently. Their small faces twisted with effort and fear and determination. Elena was on her knees between them, supporting their weight. Tears streaming down her face. That's it. Her voice came through the laptop speaker. That's it, babies. You're doing it. You're standing. I can't. Ethan's voice. Small. Broken. The first words Marcus had heard him speak in 18 months. Yes, you can, Elena said firmly. Your legs are weak, but not dead. Your spine was damaged, but not destroyed. You can do this. It hurts, Evan whispered. I know, sweetheart. I know. But sometimes healing hurts before it gets better. Marcus's phone slipped from his hand, clattered onto his desk. His sons were standing. The paralyzed twins who doctors said would never walk again were standing. And they were speaking. On the laptop screen, Elena looked at Ethan. Do you trust me? Ethan nodded, tears on his small cheeks. Then try. Just one step. That's all. One step, and I'll catch you if you fall. Marcus couldn't breathe, couldn't move, could only watch as Ethan, his son who'd been in a wheelchair for 2 years, lifted his right foot, trembling, shaking so hard it looked like he might collapse. But he moved it forward. Set it down. Good. Elena's voice broke. Good, Ethan. Now the other one. Ethan lifted his left foot, moved it forward, wobbling, barely controlled. But he did it. 2 steps. Then his legs gave out. He fell forward into Elena's arms. She caught him, held him, sobbed into his hair. You did it, she whispered. You walked. You did it. My turn, Evan said, his voice quiet but determined. Elena looked at him through her tears, nodded. Evan gripped her hands so hard his knuckles went white, lifted his right foot, moved it forward, then his left, then his right again, 3 steps before he collapsed. Elena caught him too, held both boys as all 3 of them cried on the sunroom floor. Marcus's chest cracked open. His hands were shaking, his vision blurred, his breath came in gasps. The investor on his laptop was saying something, asking if everything was okay. Marcus closed the laptop, stood up so fast his chair fell over, ran down the hallway, through the house, toward the sunroom. He burst through the door. Elena looked up, startled, still on the floor with both boys in her arms. Marcus fell to his knees, stared at his sons, at their faces, at the wheelchairs sitting empty 6 feet away. They walked, Elena said softly. Mr. Chen, they walked. Marcus couldn't speak. His throat was too tight, his chest too full. Ethan looked at him, really looked. Eye contact, present, aware. Hi, Daddy, Ethan whispered. Marcus broke, completely shattered. He crawled across the floor and pulled his sons into his arms, held them so tight, buried his face in their hair and sobbed. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry. For everything. For the accident. For not protecting you. For giving up. For, you're here now, Evans said simply. And somehow that was enough. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. That evening, Marcus sat with Elena in his office. Mrs. Lin had put the boys to bed. They'd walked to their bedroom. Slowly, shakily, but they'd walked. Marcus still couldn't believe it. How, he asked, his voice rough. How did you know? Elena was quiet for a moment. I didn't know. I just believed. Believed what? That those doctors were wrong. She met his eyes. I've seen medical impossibilities before, Mr. Chen. I watched my brother survive 2 years when doctors gave him 6 months. I've learned that sometimes what we call impossible is just what we haven't tried believing in yet. Marcus's hands trembled. I gave up on them. No, you were protecting yourself from more pain. There's a difference. I hired 9 people, spent millions. And you, a maid with no training, you're the one who saved them. Elena shook her head. I didn't save them. They saved themselves. They were ready to heal. They just needed someone who wouldn't quit when it got hard. Everyone else quit. Everyone else was doing a job. Elena's voice was gentle. I wasn't doing a job. I was loving 2 broken boys who reminded me of my brother, who reminded me that sometimes staying is the only miracle anyone needs. Marcus looked at her, this woman who'd walked into his house 3 weeks ago, who'd knelt on his floor and hummed old hymns, who'd refused to accept his sons were beyond help. I want you to stay, he said, not as a maid, as family, as the person who gave me back my sons. Elena smiled, tears in her eyes. I'd be honored. 6 months later, the Chen house felt different now. Windows stayed open. Music played from the sunroom. Laughter, real, genuine laughter, echoed through rooms that had been tombs. Ethan and Evan could walk now. Not perfectly. They still used walkers sometimes. Still had physical therapy 3 times a week. But they ran. They played. They were 6-year-old boys again. They spoke freely now, too. Made jokes. Argued with each other. Asked a million questions. All the things they'd stopped doing when their mother died. Marcus had restructured his entire life. Cut his work hours in half. Worked from home 4 days a week. Actually showed up for his sons instead of hiding behind conference calls and business deals. He'd started therapy too, processing the guilt over the accident, the grief over his wife, the shame of giving up when his sons needed him most. It was hard, painful. Some sessions left him wrecked. But he kept going, because running from pain had nearly cost him everything. Elena had moved into the guest house on the property, not because Marcus needed her to, but because she'd become family. Annie Elena, the person who'd fought for them when no one else would. One evening, Marcus found her in the garden. She was planting sunflowers, his wife's favorite. "Can I help?" he asked. Elena smiled. Of course. They worked in comfortable silence for a while, digging holes, placing seeds, covering them with soil. "I've been thinking," Marcus said carefully, "about what you said, about believing in impossible things." Elena glanced at him. "I stopped believing after Catherine died. Stopped believing God cared. Stopped believing miracles existed. Stopped believing anything good could come from so much pain." He looked at the garden, at the sunflowers they were planting together. "But watching my sons walk again, watching them come back to life, that changed something in me. Faith isn't about getting the happy ending we want," Elena said softly. "It's about trusting that God can make something beautiful even from the broken pieces." Marcus nodded. "You did that. Made something beautiful from our broken pieces." "Not me," Elena said. "God just put me in the right place at the right time. The rest was you and those boys choosing to heal." From inside the house, they could hear the twins laughing, playing some game, fighting over who got to be the dragon. Normal kid sounds. Sounds Marcus thought he'd never hear again. "Thank you," he whispered, "for not giving up, for seeing what I couldn't see, for loving them when I'd forgotten how." Elena touched his shoulder gently. "You never forgot how to love them, Mr. Chen. You were just scared. But fear and love can't live in the same house forever. Eventually, you have to choose." "I choose love," Marcus said. "Every day. For the rest of my life." They finished planting, stood up, brushed dirt from their hands. Behind them, the house glowed with warm light, full of life, full of laughter, full of second chances. Marcus looked at Elena, this woman who'd walked into a surveillance-filled fortress with nothing but a Bible and a belief that broken things could heal. "Do you know what I learned from all this?" he asked. "What?" "That the most valuable things can't be bought, can't be found on a resume, can't be verified with background checks." He paused. "Sometimes the most valuable things come from the most unexpected places. From someone who shows up not because they're qualified, but because they care." Elena smiled. "Your sons taught me something too." "What's that?" "That healing isn't about erasing the scars. It's about learning to walk forward despite them. Your boys will always remember their mother. Always carry that loss. Always have challenges because of their injuries." She looked toward the house, at the lighted windows where 2 boys were playing. But they're not defined by their pain anymore. They're defined by their courage to keep going, to keep trying, to choose joy even when grief is still there. From inside, Ethan called out, "Daddy, Annie Elena, come play with us." Marcus and Elena looked at each other, smiled. "Coming." Marcus called back. They walked toward the house together, toward the life they'd built from ashes, toward the family they'd become, not through blood, but through choice. That night, after the boys were asleep, Marcus stood in the sunroom, the same room where Elena had knelt 3 weeks into her employment, the same room where his sons had taken their first steps. He looked at the empty wheelchairs pushed against the wall. They'd kept them, not as furniture, but as reminders. Reminders that impossible things can become possible, that silence can break into song, that paralyzed legs can learn to walk again, that broken families can heal. Marcus pulled out his phone, opened his security app. All those camera feeds he used to obsess over. He deleted the app. He didn't need to watch anymore. Didn't need to verify. Didn't need proof of what he already knew. His family was whole. Not perfect, but whole. And that was enough. That was everything. Outside, a gentle rain began to fall. The same kind of rain that had been falling the night of the accident. The night that had changed everything. But this time, Marcus didn't flinch at the sound. This time, he just listened. Let it wash over the garden, over the sunflowers they planted, over the house that had learned to be a home again. And somewhere in that rain, in that quiet evening, in that moment of peace, Marcus whispered a prayer. The first real prayer he'd said in 2 years. Thank you for not giving up on us when I gave up on you. For sending someone who believed when I couldn't. For showing me that broken things can be made whole. Not by erasing the cracks, but by learning to let light shine through them. The rain continued. Soft, steady, washing everything clean. And inside the Chen house, 2 boys slept peacefully. Their legs strong enough to carry them. Their voices loud enough to be heard. Their hearts brave enough to love again. Because a woman with no credentials and a Bible full of hope had refused to see them as impossible. Had seen them as exactly what they were. 2 boys waiting for someone to believe. And belief, Marcus had learned, was the most powerful medicine of all. Not the kind you could buy. Not the kind you could schedule. Not the kind you could verify with security cameras. The kind that shows up quietly, kneels on the floor, hums old hymns, and refuses to leave even when everyone else has walked away. That's the kind of love that heals. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. That's the kind of miracle that happens when someone cares enough to stay. But Marcus Chen's journey wasn't finished yet. 3 months after the boys took their first steps, something shifted. It started small. A tightness in Marcus's chest when he watched Elena with his sons. The way they ran to her first when they got excited. The way they called for her when they had nightmares. The way they chose her lap over his during story time. Marcus told himself it was gratitude. Relief that his sons were healing. But late at night, alone in his office, he knew the truth. He was jealous. Jealous that a stranger had succeeded where he'd failed. Jealous that his sons loved someone who'd known them for months while he, their father, had known them their whole lives but couldn't reach them. Jealous that Elena had the one thing he'd lost, their trust. The feeling grew, twisted, became something ugly Marcus didn't recognize in himself. One evening, he stood outside the sunroom listening to Elena read to the boys. Some story about brave knights and dragons. Ethan laughed at something. That bright, clear laugh Marcus used to hear before the accident. Again, Evan said, read that part again. Elena's warm voice started over. Patient, never rushing. Marcus's jaw clenched. He walked into the room. All 3 looked up. Boys, it's late. Time for bed. But Daddy, Ethan started. Now. Marcus's voice was sharp. Too sharp. The boys' faces fell. They looked at Elena. She nodded gently. Your father's right. We can finish tomorrow. After the boys left, Elena started gathering the books. Marcus stood in the doorway. Arms crossed. We need to talk, he said. Elena looked up. Something in his tone made her cautious. Of course. The boys are getting too dependent on you. Elena's hands stilled. Mr. Chen, they need a bond with me. With family. Not with, he stopped. Not with the help. Elena finished quietly. Marcus flinched. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Elena stood. What's this really about? This is about appropriate boundaries. You're wonderful with them. But they need their father. They have their father. You're here. You show up. They don't run to me. Marcus's voice cracked. They don't laugh with me. Don't choose me. I'm their father, and they'd rather be with you. The words hung in the air. Raw, honest, painful. Elena's expression softened. Mr. Chen, I think we need to restructure your role. Maybe less hands-on time. More distance. Elena went very still. You're pushing me away. I'm setting healthy boundaries. You're scared. Her voice was gentle but firm. You're scared that loving them means losing control. That needing someone means being weak. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Elena stepped closer. I see you standing in doorways. Watching but not participating. You're here physically, but you're still hiding emotionally. And now that your sons are healing, now that they're opening their hearts again, you're terrified they'll get hurt. Or worse, that you will. Marcus's hands were shaking. I want what's best for my sons. No, you want what's safe for you. Elena's eyes filled with tears. And I understand. I do. After everything you've lost, of course you're afraid. But Marcus, it was the first time she'd used his first name. Loving them means risking pain. There's no other way. I need you to step back, Marcus said. His voice cold, controlled. Starting tomorrow, limited interaction with the boys. Elena stared at him, seeing right through him. If that's what you want, it is. Then I'll respect your wishes. She walked past him toward the door. Paused. But you're making a mistake. And the people who will pay for it are those two boys who finally learned it's safe to love again. She left. Marcus stood alone in the empty sunroom. His chest tight. His breathing shallow. He'd done the right thing. Set boundaries. Taken control back. So why did it feel like he'd just destroyed something precious? It took 3 days for everything to fall apart. Day 1. Elena stayed in the guest house. Only came to the main house for necessary tasks. Avoided the boys as much as possible. Ethan noticed immediately. Where's Auntie Elena? She's busy, Marcus said. I thought we could spend time together. Just us. Ethan looked at Evan. Some unspoken communication passed between them. They spent the day with Marcus. Quiet, polite, distant. Day 2. Evan asked for Elena during breakfast. She's working, Marcus said. I made pancakes. Your favorite. Evan pushed the plate away. I'm not hungry. That afternoon, Marcus tried to play with him in the garden. The boys participated half-heartedly, kept glancing toward the guest house. That night, he heard crying from their bedroom. Went to check. Both boys were awake. Ethan's face was wet with tears. What's wrong? Marcus asked. We did something bad, Ethan whispered. What? No, you didn't. We made Auntie Elena leave. Evan's voice broke. She doesn't want to see us anymore. Marcus's heart clenched. That's not true. She's just, everyone leaves, Ethan said. The same words he'd thought for 18 months when he was silent. Mommy left. Auntie Elena is leaving. Soon you'll leave too. I'm never leaving. I promise. But the boys didn't believe him. Marcus could see it in their eyes. Day 3, the boys stopped talking again. Not completely, but their words became few. Careful, like they were protecting themselves. They stopped walking as much too. Started asking for their wheelchairs again. Marcus watched it happen. Watched them retreat back into the shells they'd worked so hard to break out of. Mrs. Lynn found him in his office that evening. Sir, she said carefully, the boys are regressing. I know. Elena should. I made a decision. I'm their father. They need a bond with me. Mrs. Lynn's expression was unreadable. And how is that working? Marcus didn't answer. That night, he couldn't sleep. Kept replaying the conversation with Elena. Her words echoing. You're scared that loving them means losing control. Was she right? Was he pushing her away not to protect his sons, but to protect himself? He pulled up old security footage. From before he'd deleted the app. Footage of Elena with the boys. Watched her kneel between their wheelchairs. Watched her hum old hymns. Watched her believe in them when no one else did. Watched the moment Ethan took his first step into her arms. Marcus's chest cracked open. He'd been given a miracle. His sons had healed, had come back to life, and he was destroying it because he couldn't handle that someone else had been the catalyst. Elena was right. He wasn't protecting his sons. He was punishing them for loving someone he was afraid to trust. The next morning, Marcus went to the guest house. Elena answered on the third knock. She'd been crying. Her eyes were red and swollen. Mr. Chen, can we talk? She hesitated, then stepped aside. The guest house was small, neat. A Bible sat open on the table, highlighted and marked with notes. Marcus stood awkwardly, didn't know how to start. The boys are regressing, he said finally. Elena nodded. I know. I can see them from the window. They think you left them. Think they did something wrong. Did you tell them that wasn't true? I tried. They don't believe me. Marcus's voice cracked. They're going back to how they were before. Silent. Withdrawn. Afraid. Elena sat down heavily. Put her face in her hands. I'm sorry, Marcus whispered. I was wrong. About everything. You were right. I was scared. I'm scared. Scared of needing someone. Scared of my sons loving you more than me. Scared that if I let you in completely, You'll leave like everyone else, and we'll be broken again. Elena looked up, tears on her cheeks. But pushing you away isn't protecting them, Marcus continued. It's hurting them. And I can't, his voice broke. I can't watch them go back to that dark place. Not when they've come so far. He felt his knees in front of her chair. I'm not asking as your employer. I'm asking as a father who failed his sons. Please, please come back. Not for me. For them. Elena was crying openly now. Marcus, I can't keep doing this. Can't keep being pushed away every time you get scared. Those boys need stability. Need to know the people they love won't disappear. I know. Do you? Because this isn't just about me coming back. This is about you deciding to actually be present. To stop hiding. To be their father even when it's terrifying. I want to be. Marcus's tears fell freely. I just don't know how. Elena reached out, touched his face gently. You start by showing up. By letting yourself need people. By admitting you can't do this alone. I need you, Marcus whispered. We all do. Not just as someone who helps. As family. As the person who saved us when we'd given up. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. I'll come back. But things have to change. You have to actually work on trusting me. On trusting yourself. On being the father those boys need. I will. I promise. And therapy. Real therapy. For you. For the boys. For all of us. Marcus nodded. Whatever it takes. Elena stood. Marcus stood with her. Let's go tell them, she said. The boys were in the sunroom. In their wheelchairs again. Staring out the window. When Elena walked in with Marcus, they both turned. Their faces lit up for just a second before fear took over. Auntie Elena? Ethan's voice was so small. Elena knelt between their wheelchairs. Right back where she'd started months ago. I'm here, babies. I'm here, and I'm not leaving. But you were mad at us. Evan started. No, sweetheart. Never. I was never mad at you. Your daddy and I had to work some things out. Adult stuff. But it had nothing to do with you. Promise? Ethan whispered. I promise. Elena took both their hands. And I'm sorry if my absence made you scared. Made you think you weren't loved. You were loved. So incredibly loved. Marcus knelt beside her. His sons looked at him with those guarded eyes. Boys, he said carefully, I made a mistake. A big one. I was scared and I hurt everyone because of it. But I'm going to do better. Be better. For you. You're not leaving? Evan asked. Never. You're not making Auntie Elena leave? Never. Marcus repeated. She's family now. For real. Forever. Ethan looked at Evan. Then at Elena. Then at their father. Can we get out of these chairs? Ethan asked quietly. Elena smiled through her tears. Yes, baby. Let's walk. She helped them up. Both boys shaky but steady. They took Marcus's hands too. And together, all four of them, they walked out of the sunroom into the garden where sunlight was breaking through clouds. 6 months later, the Chen family sat together in that same garden. The sunflowers had bloomed, tall and bright. Catherine's favorite flowers surrounding them like a blessing. Marcus watched his sons run through the garden, chasing each other, laughing, being 7 years old. Elena sat beside him on the bench. She'd officially moved into the main house. Not as an employee, as Auntie Elena, the person who'd fought for them, who'd stayed. You did it, Marcus said quietly. We did it, Elena corrected. All of us together. From somewhere in the garden, Ethan called out, Daddy, watch this. Marcus stood, walked over, watched his son do a cartwheel. Imperfect, but beautiful. Did you see? Ethan's face glowed. I saw, Marcus said. You're amazing. That evening, after the boys were asleep, Marcus and Elena sat on the porch. I've been thinking, Marcus said, about how close I came to losing everything again. Not because of an accident or a drunk driver or something I couldn't control, but because I was too afraid to trust, too afraid to let people in. Elena nodded. Fear is powerful, but love is stronger. You taught me that. You and the boys. You taught me that broken things can heal, that impossible things can happen, that family isn't just about blood, it's about showing up, staying, choosing each other every single day. He looked at her, this woman who'd walked into his surveillance-filled fortress with nothing but faith and love. Thank you, he whispered, for not giving up on us, for seeing what we could become instead of what we were. Elena smiled. That's what family does. Inside the house, soft music played. The windows glowed with warm light. Two boys slept peacefully in their beds, their wheelchairs folded in the corner, needed less and less each day. And Chen finally understood what his wife had known all along. That the most valuable things in life can't be bought, can't be controlled, can't be protected by security systems and cameras. They can only be received with open hands and a willing heart. Love, trust, faith, family. The things that make broken people whole. The things that turn houses into homes. The things that prove miracles still exist in the quiet moments when someone cares enough to stay. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.